What if I was to tell you that one of the most powerful moves in an RPG wasn't to attack? What if instead it was a button labeled mercy? Most games reward strength, power, and victory at all costs. But in 2015, a weird little indie game flipped that idea upside down. With one button, it made you question everything that you knew about video games. Traditional RPGs are all about combat. You level up by fighting. Your enemies are just obstacles. They're XP to be gained. Violence is just assumed in this process. Even games with story or choice barely let you avoid combat. And when they do, it's usually just meaningless. But then comes Undertale. At first, it looks like a typical RPG. You're a kid, you fall into a world full of monsters, so you're gonna want to fight to survive, right? But then you notice something strange. There's this button that says act. And if you pay attention and you really listen, you can spare the monster's life. In this game, each monster isn't just a stat block. They all have personalities, feelings, and you're not just fighting enemies, you're meeting people. The mercy mechanic isn't just a gimmick, it's a test or a puzzle. And honestly, sometimes it's a trap. You can't just mash the spare button. You have to understand each monster, what they want, and what they fear. Sometimes you flirt with them, sometimes you flex, sometimes you just stand still. The mechanic forces empathy. You're not just sparing their lives, you're learning who they are. And here's where it gets dark. If you do decide to kill a character, the game will remember. Characters comment on your actions in the game. The music will change, the dialogue shifts. The game remembers your decisions. And if you go full genocide route, killing everyone, you become the monster. The game starts to break, the world starts to decay. This world wants to reinforce the idea that you were given a choice and now you have to lie with it. And all of this comes from one mechanic. Toby Fox didn't just create a pacifist option, he built an entire game around it. Narrative, music, enemy design, endings, all of it orbits the idea that you don't have to fight. And because the game gives you freedom, your intentions matter. You're not punished for killing, you're haunted by it. Undertale inspired a wave of indie games. Think of games like Omori, One Shot. These games were all inspired by Undertale and what Undertale brought to the table. These are all games that challenge you to think about violence, not to just perform it. And all of it started with just one idea. So, how exactly did Undertale get made? Well, I broke it down into 4 big reasons on why Undertale itself blew up. That brings me into reason number 1, the non-violent pacifism. The act or mercy command encourages talking or showing mercy instead of fighting. This idea came from Toby's favorite RPGs that tied directly into the theme of determination throughout the game. In the gameplay, choosing mercy dramatically alters the story outcomes. It even alters the game's endings. And that leads me into the bullet hell combat. Each turn's defense phase turns into a mini shooter, where the player-controlled heart dodges patterned attacks. Toby carefully tuned difficulties so even novices could succeed. He made this super fun but also punishing. And that leads me into the third one, no grinding or fetch quest. True to indie spirit, Toby cut out tedious RPG chores. There's no mandatory grinding for levels or long backtracking quests. He deliberately kept the pace brisk. And lastly, that brings me into my 4th point, the meta and humor. Toby peppered the dialogue with jokes and fourth wall breaks. For example, the character Toriel is a wary parody of over-helpful tutorial NPCs. She literally holds your hand through puzzles instead of just giving hints. Meanwhile, characters like Sans and Papyrus riff on internet memes, making the writing feel fresh. Each of these design points all reflect on Toby's indie mindset. Without any corporate oversight, Toby was free to just inject any personality and heart that he wanted into this game. Undertale shattered everyone's expectations by letting the mechanics be a part of the story itself. In short, Toby made design choices that only a single creative that wasn't hooked up to any corporate oversight could make. And he exceeded extraordinarily. And that's honestly the biggest reason that this game was so successful. Undertale didn't lecture you. It didn't tell you who to be. It just gave you the tools and let you decide. It had one button that had infinite meaning, and it was quite possibly the most powerful mechanic of all time. That's it for this deep dive on Undertale. If you guys liked it, then please let me know below in the comments. I love doing these little deep dive videos, and I would love to do more in-depth stuff. So let me know what you want to see. And if you guys could, feel free to subscribe. It really helps out the channel any way necessary. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.